I've had an athlete tell me he would eat a bag of hot Cheetos, a professional athlete, would eat a whole bag
Wow.
of Cheetos before practice because he liked the feeling of clearing himself out before practice because it would make him feel light. So
It,
like that
it,
would
it
be
do work. It do
a
work. Right. So we are back at it again. You know what I'm saying? For everybody that's wondering, it's none other than your boy Eli, your favorite host here, co-hosted with your favorite UGA dog, Mr. Mike B himself, and the People's Champ, John Jones, you know what I'm saying, live and direct. This
Here
is
you
the
go.
Real Understand Everything podcast, or as y'all may call it, True Talk. And we're back at it again. I know if when you see this, our next episode, we said episode 6, but that was incorrect. So that makes this episode number episode number 8 for us.
Yes.
But we're back at it again with another banger. One of the biggest things is we have our very first female entrepreneur on the show. Now, that's you know what I'm saying. Now we did talk before,
Bro,
going
you,
live
you
here,
gotta give
and
it at least give it a hand clap. You gotta give it a hand
yeah,
clap.
yeah, 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 yeah. But I gotta bring the name in first. I gotta bring the name
Sorry,
in. You know
pardon
what I'm
me.
saying? See, you get too much dip on your
Look at
chip.
Chip.
But but no, we was able to get somebody on. Well, we've been searching to have like the perfect fit for True Talk. Somebody that'll come on and tell their stories, their truths. And so through our good friend here, Mike B, we were able to connect with. And again, she had to correct me, so I'm gonna do my best. Y'all know I'm
Yeah,
from Atlanta. I'm gonna do
gotta
my
do it.
best, Miss Daniela Hurtado.
perfect.
Y'all give it up for y'all
Give it
give
up.
it up for Miss Daniela, man. Yeah, we gonna give you the hand clap because we appreciate you taking out that time. But Daniela is our first our first female special guest, and that means a lot to us here at True Talk.
For sure.
Just to name a background here before we get into this questioning in this interview here. She is a former athlete herself. Uh, she was a nutritionist slash dietitian. We'll add that in there for University of Georgia, for the UCLA Bruins, and the Los Angeles Rams.
As well
And
as
now,
SMU.
as well as SMU. Shout out to Dallas. Y'all know we
Yes.
out here
Pony
rocking
up,
Dallas.
baby.
But also since becoming a nutrition, she's made a transition to give back to athletes in her very own way. She started a nonprofit organization called Athletes Meal Plan. You guys tap in and keep tuning in. We're gonna dive more into that. But again, welcome Daniela. Thank you for coming on. So yeah, let's get into it a little bit.
Thank you so much. The fact that I'm the first female has me so honored. My team didn't tell me that, so no pressure.
Oh, my bad. I didn't want you to have pressure. I didn't want you to, you feel me? Just be yourself,
Nah,
pretty
Oh,
much.
serious.
But hopping right into it, Daniela, you were a dietitian, and tell us like what led you on that journey and what made you want to become a dietitian?
so to keep my long story kind of short, I was an athlete,
Mm-hmm.
I tried my hardest to educate myself. I did Muay Thai in high school and I did like cross country running. And nobody kind of explained anything about nutrition to me. None of my
Mm-hmm.
coaches, nothing. So I figured it out on my own. What I thought I was doing right actually led for me to develop an eating disorder and a really unhealthy relationship with food because no one told me what a carb does. Nobody told me that I needed to eat them. So I
Right.
would restrict them because that's what you see on TV. It was paleo, keto, low carb, Atkins, like everything says low carb, but
Right.
nobody tells you that like as an athlete, your main fuel source is carbs. So I would restrict and then my brain would tell me I wanted to eat everything, all the carbs, pizza, the pasta. And then it developed into an eating disorder over time. And it wasn't until I took an elective course in college. I didn't think I wanted to be a dietitian. I thought I wanted to be a doctor. So I took that as like just an elective. And then I learned about sports nutrition and actually helped myself kind of pull myself out of this eating disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And by learning that like these responses were natural, carbs are actually great for you and you need them and all of this stuff. And I just wanted to help future athletes because I think there's so much pressure on athletes to perform, but we're not always supported, especially in like the youth college, like community college or high school level.
Mhm.
That's kind of what started the path, and then I interned at Georgia, and I knew this is what I wanted to do, and here we are 10 years later. Oh man, I just aged myself.
Yeah. No, I mean that definitely makes sense because I mean growing up and where I was from, I didn't you don't really talk about nutrition as much as anything, and you just eat basically just because you're hungry. I'm a dude, so I could pretty much eat anything. So I can't, speak for how you or what you went through as a female as far as like how your body works and whatnot. But like as me, I just can go eat anything. So I'm just like, until I met you in college, I really had an understanding of that. So I definitely appreciate you. Oh, I don't know what happened with my boy.
I would say too, it's also like everybody's metabolism and makeup from
Mhm.
what my parents, is different too. So you know,
Right,
I feel like females too, obviously, are way more as far as the hormonal side of things. So that also plays. I feel like it could play a factor into it too. So um,
Yeah, I think we're all part of our environment and our environment shapes us. And I think that's I love about being a dietitian is getting to work with athletes with different like backgrounds, ethnicities, and then learning to meet them where they're at. My job as a dietitian is never to try and change somebody or force them to fit into a box. It's, I want to make sure that whatever I'm doing is sustainable for my athletes. So when they're
hmm
athletes, they can carry it on to the rest of their life. We want
Yeah.
to
right,
that's kind
So
of my
so I want
passion.
to ask, like you said, you spoke briefly on, you having your own uphill battle with like with an eating disorder. How often do you encounter that with other athletes that are trying to like change their life and their eating habits like on a day-to-day basis? Like is that something that you find common amongst athletes, or do you find it more common amongst more female athletes?
I guess it's complicated, right?
hmm
Hmm.
There's disordered eating, so it's like when people eat a certain way that's not optimal, but
Hmm.
you wouldn't consider them to have an eating disorder because there isn't that like the psychology behind it. It's not like they're trying to restrict or they're trying to control. But you can say that their eating habits are kind of disordered. They're not the best for
right,
fueling. So I would say a lot of the times I actually see a lot of disordered eating rather than an actual eating disorder.
right,
Uh,
Hmm.
so I've worked with athletes across the board, and even professional athletes show signs of disordered eating. And again, it doesn't have to be intentional. It's sometimes an athlete just likes eating one or two meals a day. I've had an athlete tell me he would eat a bag of hot Cheetos, a professional athlete, would eat a whole
oh
bag
wow.
of Cheetos before practice because he liked the feeling of clearing himself out before practice because it would make him feel light. So,
it,
like, that
it
would
it
be
do work. It do
a
work.
also, you think about high school and college wrestlers, they got to keep maintain a certain weight too, so they
Hmm.
technically starving themselves too.
Yeah, so I would say a lot of them have disordered eating habits, but I wouldn't say they necessarily have eating disorders.
Right,
It's it's the intention behind it that separates the two. So I would say you see disordered eating habits all across the board. You kind of like Mike B said, if your family eats a certain way, that's how you're going to eat. But is that
hmm
always going to translate to what's best for being an athlete?
very true.
Hmm.
I know for me, something you said, like not so much a eating disorder, but just bad eating habits.
Hmm.
I know for me, like I'm a bigger guy, and I know I didn't notice it back in the day, especially during
hmm
my playing days, because it's like it almost felt like we could eat whatever we wanted to because we're about to go burn it off. But now as I'm like
That
post
was me.
athletic, I mean, John's just
My
you know
metabolism.
this this is 250 and up club, man. I just but
Again,
no, like
metabolism ain't gonna let me get to that.
yeah. See, and that's another thing. I didn't know that. Like, I know when I started my training, taking my diet serious, trying to get with a nutritionist at the time. I was able. I didn't know that speeding up a metabolism or slowing it down. I didn't know that was a thing. Like, I didn't have the knowledge of it. But one thing I realize about myself, especially now, is it's not so much like people see me like, oh, here's a big guy. Everybody come with the jokes. big people eat a lot and all this and that. But it was never that I ate a lot. It was how frequent I was eating. Or
Mm-hmm.
like I would snack a lot. And I realized like, you see those movies and people like they get in their feelings, they get the ice cream and eat. But I realized like me, myself, like personally, as my whole career as an athlete, I've stress ate. So like
Mhm.
if something's worrying me in my home life, even though I got practice, you know what I'm saying? I'm like stress eating. Like I'm not even hungry, but I'm stress eating. Now I was at one point stress eating with like vegetables or fruit,
Mm-hmm.
but it transcended to the hot Cheetos. You know what I'm saying? It transcended into the things that you don't realize, but it slow your body down.
And
Which
there's also
brings me
things
to the.
that's I was gonna
Go
say
ahead.
what it's also is the things that's more affordable because the the bad options like the chips and the doggone McDonald's or just anything fast food related is cheaper because I mean everybody don't have the means to get to it. So like if you can go get like I say 5, 6 cheeseburgers and you can only go to the store and get like maybe 2 or 3 vegetables, what you gonna get? You feel me? You gonna go get the whole
Right.
Happy Meal or something. So
Facts.
that was my thought process on that too, especially growing up. So I came a
So
long
that.
way, just know that.
I think the thing, speaking to what you just spoke to, Eli, I think the thing I stress a lot is that food is mental health. Food is so
That's powerful.
personal. So I always say that as a dietitian, people think we just write meal plans, we are food police, but really, we actually are therapists in a way because food is so closely tied to your mental health. I'm a stressed non-eater. So when I'm stressed or going through it, I won't eat just because my brain is running on a million other things. And then
Hmm.
try and work out, and then my workouts will be awful, and then I'll pull something or injure myself, and then that'll stress me out more. So I think really telling people that food is mental health. Like, your mental health is, when we're sad or feeling down about ourselves, we're more likely to eat foods that are going to continue that mentality, right? We're going
Hmm.
to like that when people are in good moods and they're like, I'm on a new health kick, they'll eat healthier foods and they'll feel better about themselves. So it's just so closely ingrained that I think that like we can't separate one without addressing the other, if that makes
Right.
sense.
No, that makes sense. So I wanted
Mhm.
to ask you, what would you say to someone like a Chad Ochocinco who is a heavy advocate for athletes to eat McDonald's on a daily basis? You know what I'm saying? With your expertise, like how do you feel like how do you look at that when you hear an athlete come in the room, they're seeking your help, but they're like, I eat McDonald's every single day. Do you try to steer them away from it, or do you try to shape them in a way where they can both, follow your plan as a dietitian, but also inclement like
Fulfill their
their own
needs.
little cravings?
Yeah.
So I will say this: the moment I step into a room and somebody's like, I eat this every single day, and I tell them, cut that out completely, I've already lost that client because
Hmm.
that's not a feasible goal that they can reach, right? If you drink, I had a client one time, they drank 10 Dr. Peppers a day. They wouldn't eat real food, but like they would just
God.
so, yeah, exactly. So for me, my first goal with them was, can we drop it down to 6 or 7? And let's just start there, you know? So Chad Ochocinco is a freak athlete. He has genetics. He has years of, performance. His metabolism is probably higher than most people's. So when people like that say something, I'm like, you got to take that with a grain of salt. You are not
Right.
Chad Ochocinco. Like, there's a
Right.
world.
Right. You're just not that guy,
Like,
pal.
so I will always try and meet an athlete where they're at. If you're going to eat McDonald's, can you make it on your rest day? And can that be the only meal that's like not great for you? You eat that day. Like, don't make the whole day a day that you are doubling up on like McDonald's, and then you're going to go to KFC, and then you're going to go to Like, no, let's just, if that's going to be it, let that be it, and the rest of the day.
So what's your
So I
thinking?
like,
Your
what?
thought on Chick-fil-A? Because I know you threw that in there. Do you
I can't say anything because I also eat Chick-fil-A
okay.
because
All right. So let's
I
see.
am
All right.
everything in moderation. Life is to be lived and to be enjoyed.
Mhm.
Cool. Sorry to cut you off. I heard you say Chick-fil-A. I'm like, oh shit. Hold on, I just had
But
to.
don't ask me about what is it, Zaxby's or Cane's, because I don't like them. And that is a personal preference.
Shout out to Zaxby's. but
No.
Chick-fil-A is the only one that has ranch, and I just like ranch.
That's true. I
No.
mean,
Zaxby's got ranch.
They got ranch too, but they
That's
probably,
Prince got ranch. Yes, they do. You're right. They do.
yeah,
They
they probably
It's
just
do?
not
got a
as
high
good as
calorie ranch.
Mm,
Yeah, it's
The best
trash.
ranch out there, as a certified Big Back, I'm trying to retire the Big Back, but the best ranch out there is
Wingstop.
what's that? Wingstop. Oh
Yes,
yeah,
hands
Now we
down.
Rick
we
Ross
just
did
got
his.
ranch out in PA.
Yeah,
Hey, a
we
big
on
boy
here.
made that ranch for sure. Rick Ross did his
We're
thing on that
talking.
one.
We're talking to a nutritionist about all the unhealthy things that we're eating right
Listen,
now.
we ain't gonna lie though. We ain't coming in here.
Yeah.
Listen, we are sitting in her office right now. She got 3 patients, and we ain't gonna lie. I had Chick-fil-A yesterday. That's why when she said it, I kind of got a little nervous. Like, oh shit.
Man, no, I feel that. So I wanted to ask you. I know, like I said, I've had my own personal experiences with a few nutritionists here and there, not a whole lot.
mhm.
How do you feel about a cheat day? Because I've heard some that don't believe in. There's people that don't believe that you should have a cheat day. There's people that do believe that you should have at least one cheat day. Some people say you should have two cheat days. It's just how do you feel about that, and how important is that, like, to have a cheat day if you do believe in it?
I don't necessarily believe in cheat days because then that puts the implication that all food, like that certain foods are bad.
Okay.
I like to think that there's foods that are more beneficial for your health or nutrient dense and things like that.
Hmm.
Again, I don't like to shame food because then we put that shame on ourselves when we eat that food.
Hmm.
So I like to say everything in moderation. So if that is somebody practicing moderation where that they have that one day, then I won't change that for my clients. But for me, moderation may be like every day I eat pretty well, and then at night I'll have something like a brownie or a cookie or something like that at the end of the night, just because I want to. And I think that's still practicing moderation because I'll have a cookie or half a cookie, but I'm not shaming
Mhm.
myself in the process.
Gotcha.
So I like to say if that works for some people, cool, that works for you. But I don't like to say let's have a cheat day because then that means that like that food is inherently bad.
Right.
Gotcha.
I got a question. Okay, so say if you had, so you work with some football players, at SMU as well as with us at Georgia. So because my situation was a little different because I was always in the mode of like when I first got there gaining, but toward my last years, it was more like a maintaining. I didn't really want to lose weight. So say if you got a freshman coming in, like say you got SMU, you have your incoming freshman, you have a lineman that's probably undersized and you want him to eat a nutrient like dense meal where he has to basically gain a lot of weight, what are some things that you're recommending to him? Because he's not going to always want what you all are cooking at the facilities or maybe what's offered on campus. He's going to have his place that he goes to. He's like, I have to have this. What would you tell him? How would you explain to him to what to order and why to order that? So say if his place was like, I'm trying to think of a doggone place, Whataburger. They love Whataburger and they like, I gotta have Whataburger. What would you tell them to order from like Whataburger, or what would you tell them to get from the facility on a daily basis and whatnot?
I think it's important to always, meet every athlete where they're at. It's so individualistic. Like what I think is good food may not be what you think is good food, and John may have some opinions too.
Right,
It's very much about meeting them where they're at and then kind of seeing what I can get from them. What are they willing to give me right now? And then we
right,
can. I think a lot of what people don't understand as a dietitian is I got to earn an athlete's trust before they listen to me, right?
right.
Again, food is so personal. It comes with your mental health. So it's when people ask me that, like, what should I eat or what should I do? I'm like, I don't know because I don't know you.
Right, right.
I don't
Right.
know your story. I don't know what you like to eat. I don't know your eating habits. Are you going to Whataburger and only eating like once a day? Are
Mm-hmm.
you eating something before that? Like all of that plays into what I'm going to recommend.
Mm-hmm.
Just so like it's so nuanced. It's so individual to the player and where they're from and where they're at. Like if I have somebody who knows what a carb is, then I can be like, all right, let's have a protein, color, and carb from Whataburger. What does that look like? Let's look at their menu. But if I have an athlete who doesn't even know that, I'm just gonna be like, okay, if you're gonna go to a Whataburger, just order one burger and then
Mm-hmm.
like maybe eat fruit at home or something. Like
Right.
it's gonna be basic because that's all they can handle right then. So I guess that's just sorry, I feel like I'm giving you like a
No, I
it's
get. I get
hard.
We
what
are
you're
sitting in your office. That's why I'm sitting back.
I get what you're saying. So
Yeah.
basically what you're getting at is it like you said times before, like it's based on the athlete, meet them where they're at, and then you work around that. So it's like if they start off like I eat this a lot, okay, if you eat this, I recommend this do this on this day, that on that day, and as the days go forward, depending on where their weight is at, you may fluctuate this, add more of this, implement that. I get it.
Mhm.
So that transitions to me to my next question. So you worked at Georgia, SMU, you transitioned to you went to the professional rankings, worked with the Rams, and then you also work with the UCLA basketball team. And those are different aspects and different places in the world where you learn different things that work for different people. At what stop at all those points in your life where you're like where you what was your hardest thing to like overcome with that group of athletes? Like what did you realize was different at Georgia compared to SMU, going to the professional rankings and dealing with like AD or something like that, and then going to the LA, I mean not the LA Rams, but UCLA and dealing with basketball players, that's a whole different type of athlete than football players.
All right.
That's how you
First,
ask a question there. That's
I have I have a funny story. So SMU, anytime I ordered Chick-fil-A for the
Right.
team, just like it would be like 85% spicy chicken because you have a lot of Louisiana boys, you have a lot of boys,
I need my Cajun.
and like maybe 15% original.
Right.
At UCLA, one time I ordered like half and half, I think, and people were outraged. Nobody touched the spicy chicken in LA. Mhm. I was so shocked, but like, and then
Wow.
even yeah. At Georgia, SMU, a lot of what I was doing was educating on like, hey, maybe we don't eat fried chicken and biscuits right before a game because that's really heavy. Or at UCLA, it's like I was being like, hey, we can eat carbs. Like they're okay. We can incorporate these foods. I think the cultures are so different. So that's always hard is like going into a new team, a new atmosphere, and like figuring out what that culture is because what works for one team is not going to work within another. And I
Right.
think that's it always made me laugh when I think about like I really ordered half and half and like everyone was mad because all of
Yeah,
the
they
other
want kale.
dishes what?
They want kale. They want just they want the multi-grain bun, the
Mm.
lettuce, and a bun under that, and they gonna eat that.
I've had athletes be like, "Is this free range? Is this organic?" And I'm like,
My gosh.
Man, listen, we needed you at my high school because before a game every Friday, it was chicken tenders, a biscuit,
Let's go.
and some mashed potato coming
Okay.
out there loaded. We out there loaded.
Nah, what did we eat? What did we eat before every game at Lane? Where did we go?
chicken.
Man, listen,
Golden Corral.
Golden
Oh
Corral. We had all you can eat buffet.
Before
Bro,
every game.
dudes was walking on the field like they was pregnant. Like, like for
And then
real.
after the game, what we eating after the game?
my Golden Corral.
Nope. If
What?
we in Atlanta, we getting churches.
Yeah, because
Fried chicken after
If
the
we in
game.
Kentucky, we getting KFC.
yeah, because it's, when you're feeding a bunch of hungry high school football players, I'm
This is
sure they're
college.
still thinking about price. I
This
don't
is
know.
in
This was our college.
college.
Yeah,
So me and John went to school our freshman year, and
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
our
that's just
freshman year.
but that's not
Yeah.
shocking because, like, colleges don't have, like not all colleges have the funds, you know? Feeding a whole athlete, like, you're thinking about how much they spent on travel and all of that. They're gonna try and be within budget wherever they can.
yeah,
And,
Right.
yeah.
like
Let me say.
You
So
had
this was
85 people hopping off of a dirty ass coach bus that we drove from Jackson, Tennessee. If we going to fucking Payne, Georgia, or we going to Kentucky, yeah, we hopping off the bus, ready to. You talking
so
about Lyman was excited? Golden Corral, we pull up, and
that's
you going.
actually
So how you going? to Okay, if you were with us, how do you restrict that? What are you going to tell them? Like, oh, you can only have one plate.
No, no, no. I'll educate them like on, if we're gonna eat this, make sure that like which one is the best option for where we're at. I don't know what the
So, okay, yes. What's a good
I don't know
option
what
at
the
Golden
food
Corral?
choices are, but maybe the mashed potatoes or if they have white rice, that's gonna be the best option. Eat more of those and stay away from more of like the super heavy fried stuff. If they have a grilled option, let's go for that rather than like the
Gotcha.
thing that's like dripping in cheese and oil, you know?
So basically, it's not so much that you're going. I mean, obviously, it's a bad look to go to all you can eat buffet before a game. But if you're gonna go, you're
What
basically saying
idea
like,
was that?
right. So, but it's like if you're gonna go, don't hog out on like the because they offer
But you can't
certain
get mad at us though, bro.
But you got to think though, as an athlete though, you got to think though. At the end of the day, as an athlete, you're going to play a game, so it'd be pointless to try to go and
What
fuel
did
up
she
on
just
something
tell you?
fried.
A professional ate hot Cheetos.
Yeah,
That's
and he dealt with cramping because when you clear out your system, you're also clearing out the fluid and the electrolytes, and he chronically cramped. And,
so for every action, there's a reaction.
yeah.
You go eat fried food at the buffet, you're gonna lose by 30. But so me and John went to a HBCU our freshman year. I ended up leaving. I go to a PWI.
Mhm.
My food, as far as the team goes, at a PWI compared to my HBCU was completely different.
Yeah.
I'm talking before games, steak dinners, like the whole nine. It was after games. Now after games, they hit you. I think it's universal to either get pizza,
Yep.
sub sandwich,
Yep.
Chick-fil-A. It
Hmm.
was, it was the universal three as far as like one time we after a game, dudes was having the whole in Pizza Hut, the whole pizza box to themselves. Some people got two if you depend on how good you was on the team or if you was a senior or that guy in the front that didn't play like that. Here, man, you can take my box. I ain't hungry. I'm just saying they offered it up, but um, it was completely different for me. Like, and I never understood like how I guess like we get on the bus. Like one time we had a bus ride. It was like a 3 hour bus ride somewhere around there. But after the game, they give us they gave us pizza,
Hmm.
and the amount of people on the because I play defense, so the amount of guys on the defensive side on the bus, excuse me, that cramped up, and I kept thinking, I'm like, it has to be the pizza. Like
Yeah.
we first of all, just anybody that's ever been in like a Greyhound type of bus, it's not a lot of room. The seats are smaller than a plane seat. And we talking about guys that are 300, 250. Some guys are, you got the 190s and all that. But like, for the most part, we got some mass on that bus.
Mhm.
That probably sound ASS, you know what I'm saying? My accent thick. We got mass on the bus, but we have mass on the bus. And so it's like, with everybody cramping, you know what I'm saying, sitting on top of each other, I wonder like, and I'm gonna ask you,
Mhm.
like, what would you consider to be like a good post game meal? Something that think about even guys that like if we have a plane ride, like what would you be like? I think this will be a better option for the team if you had input on that.
I think, I mean, so talking about pizza, I remember at SMU, the guys had a really hard practice, and then that was the last practice, and then the guys were breaking and going home. And we knew that we wouldn't be able to provide food for a lot of the guys. So I just ordered a bunch of pizzas, like for them to take home. And I remember posting it, and I got a lot of negative comments being like, "Aren't you a dietitian? Is this what you should be feeding the team?" Like, I got so much backlash. And for me, it's like, I'd rather him eat something than not eat anything.
Hmm.
Right.
Like, at least that has some carbs, that has some protein, it has some kind of something
Yeah.
versus not getting anything.
This
Hmm.
was
So,
this was pre NIL era people. We were
mhm.
struggling out here.
Facts.
So the crazy thing is this whole thing is kind of like why I started my nonprofit. So my nonprofit is we take food waste because half of the food that we create in the United States is wasted
Hmm.
and it goes to landfill. But we have athletes who are expected to play and don't have any nutritious food. And then we wonder why they're cramping or they're struggling or they can't keep up or, all of this stuff. So we use food waste and we repurpose it to make meals where then we'll go and deliver the meals to athletes who are food insecure, youth athletes, high school athletes. We currently are partnered with a community college. Now with NIL, a lot of kids aren't getting picked up, like especially in the basketball. It's all about the transfer portal now.
Hmm.
So a lot
hmm
of kids are now going to community colleges and smaller schools in hopes of just hitting the transfer portal
Right.
because that's the way to get in now. And then everyone thinks that like everybody has NIL money, and that's not true. Only like the 1% of the 1% have that NIL money.
Right.
So that's kind of why I started the athlete meal plan, because even at UCLA, I had to like make PB&Js and advocate for grocery gift cards to give to my athletes, because the only meals that they had were the ones that the team provided. And then they gave them like $15 per diem. Well, what is a $15 per diem going to get my 7 foot something athlete? Like,
Hmm.
what is that
In
going to do?
California, one of the
In
most expensive
California,
states in the like, man.
I
That's
had to,
crazy that they was only giving $15 out. Is
UCLA, shit. I thought Lane was bad. Fuck.
yeah.
Jerry, that's pathetic. You give me 15. What the fuck am I gonna get with that? A nature metaphor?
So, and even
That just made
the
me mad.
basketball.
Sorry, bro. I'm sorry. That just made me
No,
mad.
you're fine. This is the conversations that need to be had, because I think people have this image of like these
Don't go to
NIL.
UCLA. This just showed. Don't commit there to play basketball. You're gonna starve.
I don't advocate for that message.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I'm not.
I understand it. Don't go.
okay,
This
right.
isn't a true talk advocate for that message. That's John personally.
I don't give a shit.
Look,
Don't
we would
go.
love to visit somebody on UCLA campus and get their input.
Yeah, when
Sure.
I started at UCLA, they had a fueling station for like the Olympic sports
Hmm.
outside of football and basketball, because they had their own facilities. They limited those athletes to 3 snacks. Like it could be a protein, a carb, and some kind of fruit. And that was it. That was all they were allowed to get. They didn't have a training table. They didn't have any of that.
What?
Yeah, CLA. So I think, and then they had the gymnastics teams where they've won so many national championships. The soccer team just won a national. Like these are like teams that are winning national championships, but at the same time, we had athletes who were starving. So like again, people just think because they're athletes that they're these privileged kids, but they're not. Like, and they're
People do
still
think
trying
that.
to
People
figure
do
it
think
out,
that.
you know?
People
So
think that.
go ahead. My bad, John. What you said?
No, I just saying I'm agreeing with she. I'm just saying people absolutely think that. That's
So
all.
Yeah.
Daniela, you were there for the pre and post NIL situation of athletes getting paid, and like you said it briefly, athletes weren't getting paid before, but you think everybody's getting paid, but they're really not. So how did that change the game, or was it still one and the same? Because I mean, I think it's going on now that it's going to be like a regulation for like the NIL players to get more money and it be distributed across the whole team or whatever that aspect is. I don't know the exact details, but how would you say that plays a part into like how the athletes can eat now? Because I'm seeing some of these athletes online, and these are some of the top athletes on each teams that can hire a dog with nutritionist or eating lamb chops or just like what would you say how that plays a part into how like nutrition and everything is still going on to this day?
Okay, so it's complicated, right?
Hmm.
Now with NIL, the money is going directly to athletes,
Right.
which I'm all for because they're making money. They're making the schools money, right?
Right.
Um, but I do think it's complicated, right? Because now that money, I like to say money is just being redistributed in different ways, but the money really doesn't change. Like the donors are now donating to athletes, and then they're less likely to donate to athletics as a whole.
Right.
And so what does that mean for the other athletes? And then even on the same team, so like international athletes, they don't get NIL because they're on visas. So on the same, like we would have athletes who would drive like Porsches or like exotic cars, and then on the same in the same breath, you have an athlete who doesn't have anything to eat.
Right.
So it's creating like disparities within the team, right? Even if you think about football teams, maybe a few guys get a good amount of NIL, but what does that mean for the walk on who's just trying to get a scholarship, just to get an education? Um, I think it's just it's complicated, it's messy, and then especially when you think about now schools are going to have to start paying the athletes, which is great. But do we really think the schools are going to pay the athletes and not redistribute money? Like, do we really think they're going to cut the pay for like coaches and administrative people? No, what they're
Absolutely
probably
not.
is the support staff, the support programs. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they cut the amount of athletic trainers or the amount of like dietitians. Like, dietitians are constantly advocating to be like, we need more support. We need more. Like, we have so many athletes who want and need our education, but
Mm-hmm.
then the admin doesn't always see our value because they think we just write meal plans or we just order food.
Right.
So I like to say it's such a complicated landscape, and people are like, oh, they're going to get paid. And it's like, okay, what are they going to get paid and where are they living? Because if they're getting paid and they live in LA, is it going to be enough for them to still have a roof over that? I had athletes who had 6 roommates,
Right.
like in a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment, to afford rent. So,
Let me tell you, I went to junior college in Northern California, College of the Siskiyou. Shout out to College of the Siskiyou. But going to California opened my eyes to like the horror stories of, first of all, it's junior college. The food, forget
mhm,
about it. You better off just going to Subway or whatever's local. But like the struggles that people talk about, it's not a lie. Like California is so expensive that when you're in college, having to go to practice, having to do all these things, some of them guys got cars. Gas is $5-6. Depending on where you at, it might even touch 7 for premium,
Oh.
and this, yeah, and it's like rent for what would be in the South, a 2 bedroom or 3 bedroom. You may pay, I don't know, let's say you apartment with a 3 bedroom, let's say you may pay somewhere upwards of 2,500 to about 3,000 in the South.
Mm-hmm.
That
mhm,
same 2 bedroom or 3 bedroom in California, you're paying upwards to 4,000 plus.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like now you got 16 guys splitting $4,000 trying to make that work, on top of having to worry about fueling your body. I had a teammate that ended up going to a school in a, well, he wasn't a teammate, but I played against him. He ended up becoming a teammate later on in life. But at the time, he went to what school was it? I think he went to Cal Berkeley, one of those. I think it was Cal Berkeley. But I remember him just telling me like it almost felt like JUCO again. Like again, he wasn't a top name guy to like get the top end dollar under the table. Everybody get paid. It's been going on for years, but
mhm,
he wasn't no top end guy that's gonna get a high value as far as NIL goes. But even before then, like stipends, you get your per diem, and then they get you. They take care of your rent for the most part. But it was so expensive that you still had 3 4 guys sharing a place because rent was so high. And then we're not even going to talk about cars. The amount of guys in California in the college that didn't have cars pre NIL era was insane to me. And then you got like a lot of guys come from Oregon. Some of them boys didn't even know how to pump gas. Like that's a whole different topic. But you know what I'm getting at is all of those things for how expensive it is, and then to hear you say like it is a heavy advocate for like nutritionists and dietitians to like say we need more support, but these colleges think that it's not important, but they don't
mhm,
realize like when you see these guys post their bodies on social media of like their weight gain. Like recently there's a guy that just transferred from Arkansas to go to Cal. He went
mhm,
from 180 or 70 something, and then he's like 205. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
mhm,
Although like people look at it like, man, he's been in the gym, but the gym is only half the battle.
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
Everybody that knows that's in athletics, the biggest way to lose weight or gain weight is how you eat. That is the I am a guy I lost over 100 pounds at one point. When I had got to my heaviest, I dropped down 100 pounds, and then on top of that, I had to redefine my new body. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? I had to learn how to move with, because now I'm at my lightest. I've never been this small. So now I'm so explosive. I don't know how to control it. But like what I'm getting at is, I started off like really, really like this big guy, and lifting weights. I was so strong and I could see my body change, but it wasn't until I made the flip to like change my eating habits. And
Mm-hmm.
that is so key. And so what you're getting at, to your point, I know it sounds like I got off track, but to tie it all in is, being in Cali is super expensive, but the things that they need is like we need more nutritionists. We need more support for that because it is so important. So that's like the one thing they shouldn't cut. Also, we got to take care of the athletes at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
There's no
There's no
support
reason.
for them.
Yeah. So it's like, there's no reason why we should have athletes struggling in that realm. And again, I think more people just need to speak out more about, we got all of these, what they call them, meatheads. Like we pumping iron, we big and strong, but like social media won't tell you everything that goes on behind changing your body. Social media
Mm-hmm.
won't tell you that this guy drinks water on the daily. He has to. Most people, I know people now. I know a person
Don't tell
right now.
me water. I'm like, don't
They
tell me
don't
they don't
drink
drink
water. They
water.
don't drink water. They'll drink a soda. They'll drink a carbonated water. They have not drink. They do not drink H2O.
That's
And
Mm.
I used to be like, your livers is, one day.
My thing is, how much of that is societal and where we're raised, right? Like, you,
Hmm.
let's be real. Only underserved communities and are the ones that are being pushed the cheap, sugary stuff, right? If you go to other communities, it's like, ooh, look at this expensive water in a glass bottle. It's water. Like
Right.
at the end of the day, it's water. Why does it cost $6? And are we just buying it? So I like to say that like I'm a firm believer in like food shouldn't be a class indicator.
mm-hmm.
Like places like Erewhon and places like things like that, where it's like that shouldn't be reserved for the well off, right? Like
Right.
good food should be accessible to everybody, and that's what we're trying to do with my nonprofit, is like making sure that like these athletes are getting nutritious meals, because there's so much that's tossed and wasted. Like that food could be going to people who need it. And I think all of us can speak to sports shaped us as who we are as individuals. They gave us the skills we need in life. They taught us resilience. Like I feel like
Humble,
learning
resilient.
how to fail and get back up again is something that is pivotal in sports, right? You just,
Right.
after you lose, you just got to eat that out and keep going, like it, you know? Or even
Right.
after you have a bad game, you can't continually internalize that, or else you're going to keep going. Like, so I think sports provide skills and opportunities. And for some kids, that's their way out. And
Right.
so I now with NIL and everything, a lot of like black and brown kids are being priced out of scholarships because their families don't have the money now to start investing in them at like an early age. Like I have
Preach.
I
Come on
have
now.
clients who have reached out to me. I love my clients and I'm so happy that there's people who see a value in what I do.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, they were like, "Will you work with my son? He's 8 or 9 and he's great at this sport and I want him to go to college." They're already talking about that when the kid is 8 or 9. Like when I was 8, I was still probably, I don't know, I still slept with my mom in her bed. Like I slept with my I'm not thinking about college, but these parents are, and they're investing in their kids. So now more than ever, black and brown kids are being priced out of scholarships. And they're the ones who usually need that, right? Your parent has the money to invest in a strength trainer, a nutritionist, a athletic trainer at such an early age. They probably have the means to pay for college. Like,
Right.
so that's why I'm really like with the changing landscape right now,
Mm-hmm.
like that's why I'm so passionate about my nonprofit, is just because like these are the kids that need it. And because people hear that they're athletes, they think they have it together, and that's not true. That's actually the furthest thing from the truth. Um,
Right.
Those facts.
the 1% that you see in the media. Those are the 1% of the 1% of the, like there's so many HBCUs who probably could, get a sliver of the leftover food that some of these other schools down the street have and
Mm.
would be so grateful for it,
Hey,
So,
listen. Riverhawk Radio, Christian State University, Go Hawks, Division 2 down in Tahlequah, Oklahoma.
mhm.
Y'all better tune in, tap in. You know what I'm
LA
saying?
Rams, UCLA, everybody tap in. This is for a good
Nah, they
cause.
already they got the money. Not just playing, but no, y'all all tap in. So I
I
want
mean,
to ask you. This is kind of like it's on topic, but a little off. Give me a horror story in your experience as a nutritionist. Where have you had a person, an athlete, walk in and you're like, Lord, I don't know how we gonna do it. Like, have you had one of those moments where you're like, man, this might not work?
Honestly, more than more than you know.
she said it so calmly.
Yeah, like when I tell you, you have coaches, right? And they're like, hey, we have this freshman coming in. We need him to gain weight. We need him to do this. This is what he needs to be at come season. I'm like, got it. Go to talk to the kid, and I'm like, what did you eat today? And he goes, nothing. I just got out of bed. I'm like, it's 11. Like, I'm like, okay, if we make you a smoothie in the morning, every morning, will you drink that? Yeah, that's straight. Every morning, that smoothie's sitting at the same place on the counter every single day.
Right.
And like, that doesn't change the coach's expectation of me of getting it done. Now I'm over here being like, having to like bring the smoothie to the locker room and be like, you need to drink this, you know? Um, that's more common than you think, is you have these athletes who are
They used
like,
to do that
I've
a
got,
lot for us. I ain't gonna lie.
yeah, they're like, I've gotten here doing this much. I've gotten far doing this, right? So they keep doing that and don't really see the pressure, or they're like, I'm going to play no matter what, and don't really care, you know, they don't
Right.
really care. Or they know that they're only like in basketball, right? I'm only here for a year.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
so
I know you had to deal with that a lot.
so it's like one of those things where it's like you usually get a kid and you have this pressure from like the coaches on what they need to be and who they need to be. And then you have a kid who's like, I'm fine just as I am. And those are the ones where I'm usually like, oh Lord, how am I going to do this? How are we going to get his weight up? How am I going to save my job?
Yeah.
Hmm.
As far as advocation for, dietitians and everybody within the nutritional standpoint for these collegiate athletes, professional athletes, I feel as if they need advocates like yourself who's had the education. You've been around some of the best athletes on all levels, and I can speak for myself because even you helping me during the whole NFL draft process and telling me what I should eat and just educating me on different things, I learned a lot. Like between you and my most recent nutritionist at UGA, well, she's not there anymore, but shout out to Miss Collier. You guys both had taught me a lot about, the value of food and basically it being like the fuel to your body, like fuel in a car. You wouldn't put basic gas into a Ferrari and whatnot. So that all plays a part into that. So which takes me into my, next question, or what do you want people to know about how your business, your nonprofit athletic meal plan can, help benefit them and their student for, the greater LA area and whatnot. And like, what do you want people to know of how they can like, put forth anything to help your business expand, because you definitely want to help all these communities in need and whatnot. Tell us a little bit about
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, so the athlete meal plan, right? Right now we are just in LA, but my vision is that we can have this across the country, kind of like all over, and also create like a network where we have dietitians that we can lend out to schools, like free of charge, just so we can educate the athletes, because like it depends on which school you go to, what the quality of food and education that you get. If you go to a school like Georgia that can pay and sees the value in a dietitian, then
Hmm.
you're going to get a better foundation than another kid who may start off at a D2 or a JUCO or something like that. And then if they all make it professionally, you have one who's knows a little bit more than the other.
Right.
So it's the playing field is always going to be different. So I think AMP, or the athlete meal plan, our thing is we want to educate and we want to feed like nutritious foods to athletes so they can perform at their best, so they can have the best opportunities.
Right.
Like we want to make sure that they're eating foods that are not going to make them cramp on the way back from games, or that they can like have a hard practice, they can have a meal waiting for them at home so they know they're at least going to eat something that night. And I think that's like also, I like, again, food is mental health. If you know you have food at home, you're going to be less stressed, less worried, less anxious. Also,
Hmm.
I know when I don't eat, I get hangry and I'm miserable. So,
Hmm.
like, if you expect these kids to be in class, have a good attitude, but then they're starving and working out, like no one's going to be happy. They're going to be sore, they're going to be cranky, and they're going to be tired. And then if you don't have fuel, you're going to be sleepy, all of the things, right? So, my goal is for us to reach outside, because LA is such a small bubble, but our services I feel like are needed in the South, right? Let's be
Right.
real,
For sure.
you see the greatest numbers of food insecurity. So for us, the biggest thing is just having people know who we are, why we exist,
Right.
following us, donating, helping us continue what we're doing.
Mhm.
is the way that we can continue helping athletes. Like, again, it's not just college athletes. We also want, like, we want to help youth and high school athletes so they can actually have a chance to compete with some of the other kids.
Right.
Talent is only going to get you so far.
No,
Question
that
for you. Oh, my
Yes.
fault, Mike. I was gonna say, as a business owner, um, how would you, or what advice would you give to someone who's listening who may have a business but they want to start a nonprofit?
Hmm.
Like, what steps did you take to do that?
So what I did was I researched what was out there first.
Okay.
Like, I had an idea, but I didn't know if somebody else was doing it, and I didn't know how they were doing it. Luckily, there was nothing else like what we're doing out there right now. So I researched, and then I took the time and saved up to like hire a lawyer to do all of the paperworks and bylaws because it's a lot of stuff like that. But I would say if you believe in what you're doing and you have the passion, I think we started in January and we're starting our first pilot program in August with a university who believes in what we're trying to accomplish.
Congratulations. That's dope.
Congratulations.
Thank
congratulations.
you.
That's big too. To happen in 6 months.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
So then on top of that, we partnered with Food Cycle LA, which is one of the largest food rescue nonprofits in Los Angeles. We've partnered with a bunch of restaurants and chefs. Our chef Aaron, who's on our board, is actually he's worked with numerous athletes and NBA players like as their private chef, and he is volunteering his time because he believes in the mission. So I think this whole thing has shown me that if you're passionate about what you're doing and you truly believe in the mission and what you're trying to accomplish, there's people who will support you. And I
No, for
think
sure.
telling people, like, if you are passionate, there's no one else like you. You're one of one. I like to say everybody's one of one, and that's what makes us all
I
so
like that.
special and unique. So if you have an idea, like, don't it doesn't matter if there's other people like out there who are kind of already in the same space, but there's no one like you.
Right.
I think I
What they
get with
say? Clock it. No, seriously, clock it.
Yeah,
uh,
I think that's like, right? I get clients who I just don't gel with, and we go our separate ways. I don't take that as a slight to who I am as a dietitian. I'm not going to connect with everybody. That's just not who we are meant to be. So I think letting your passion and what you believe in really like push your momentum, and like don't doubt yourself. Let your
yes.
passion fuel you.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're
Uh,
fine.
so that what you said, and it's kind of piggybacking off of the question John had. Um, with you transitioning from like working with a full time like protein college team and all that, you start your own nonprofit, you become an entrepreneur. Ooh, excuse me. So I want to ask you, what would you say has been the most challenging part about being a nonprofit? Because again, nonprofit is nonprofit. So you're taking your time, your own investments for the greater good to see something successful because you genuinely believe in this, you genuinely care about it, and you want to see a change done about it. So with that being said, it's still a business that you're running. So what
Mhm.
would you say is the most challenging thing that you've had to endure in this startup of having a nonprofit for athletes and meals?
So I think the biggest challenge is, right, with my business, I'm providing a service and I'm
Hmm.
getting paid for that. So I don't have to ask for money. I pay my own bills with the services I do, and I can say like, and then how do I say it? My work like it shows proof for my value. So if people
Gotcha.
are paying for my services, I think I do a great job of making them feel like their money was worth it, right?
Right.
When you're working for a nonprofit, when you're starting a nonprofit, you have to ask people for money, but you're not really providing anything to them?
Hmm.
So it was really uncomfortable for me, who I pride myself on my hard work ethic and getting everything on my own, to then be like, hey, this is my idea. Do you want to donate money? It's uncomfortable.
Right.
Right.
It's uncomfortable, and then sometimes networking with people that you may think are like out of your league or like you may not have a seat at the table. I think that's been hard, is something that you have to overcome, and you have to be comfortable being told no, or people not responding, or people you thought were going to support you not necessarily supporting you the way that you thought. So I think that's uncomfortable, and I think nobody likes to, be told no or really like put themselves out there.
Hmm.
But it's also putting myself out there and asking for donations and speaking up for myself, that I had people who I never thought would support, or either people who I didn't even think knew me or knew my brand or my personality. And they're like, I believe in what you're doing, and donating. So
Right.
I think it's one of the most difficult thing is also been the most rewarding part, is just like seeing the people who I wouldn't necessarily think would back me and support me in the ways that they have. It also
I'm
kind of, what?
didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying it sometimes heals my faith in humanity again.
Right.
I feel that.
No, I feel that. Um, this is my thought processes, and this is like swaying away, but you got to speak the language of the rich people. This is a nonprofit. You are benefiting by giving this nonprofit and donating to them because it's a tax write-off, bottom line. But it's also going for a greater good. You feel me? So anybody who loves, nutrition and wants, Daniela services, or knows somebody in need of Daniela services, the simple fact that athlete meal plan can help that as long as you donate, because they are a nonprofit. You feel me? They're not doing it. It's not a for-profit system. So that definitely will help in across all landscapes. And I could vouch for her, and I could vouch for you, and I'm pretty sure I known you for a while, to where your team, I know that they're not no, I'm gonna just be blunt, like no scrubs. They're like top of the line. They're very educated. They know what they're talking about. So the simple fact of the matter is, she has a team that knows all of what they're doing, any questions that you have. And the biggest thing that helped me during the draft process is just the teaching aspect, the education that you learn about the food and how it helps, the benefits, what you should avoid, whatever your goal may be, whatever athlete, or if you're just a professional in whatever aspect you need as far as like your meal, whatever. But the point I'm trying to get at is they're good teachers as far as like teaching you the value of all this stuff. So definitely, I think anybody who puts forth the effort and donates towards athlete meal plan, I feel like it could be definitely beneficial across the United States, with small programs, big programs, just basically putting more people
Mm-hmm.
in place for the betterment of the athletes, because most of America watches sports by any means necessary. It's like America's pastime. So the simple fact, if you want to continue watching sports, even with the NIL aspect, or even with like these NIL kids getting all this money, like if you put it in blunt terms, don't want to pay as much in taxes, donate towards things that benefit you and what you love to do. And that's going to bring you, more things down the line as far as more opportunities goes. So it's just like in every way possible, I think this is a great idea, and I support you 1000. I think we all support you 1000%.
Yeah,
And it's
true talk
definitely,
support you.
yeah, so it's just like it's just a matter of the right people hearing and listening to what you're saying, because it's definitely educational and will help a lot of people, because I know people right now in my hometown that can use you. Lord. Boy, if y'all reach out to South Carolina, boy, and my little town, real, listen, them folks down there need you, man. They need you right now.
Listen, I'm a
I was gonna say, I remember feeding you in college.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Hey,
Yep.
listen.
I'm a I'm gonna say it I'm gonna say it on a more for the people that can't understand certain things. I'm gonna just say it in this way: you take care and invest in her non-profit, in Daniela's nonprofit. She's gonna take care of your athletes. You want your team to win? Go ahead and chip in. You know what I mean? That's just where we at with it.
Okay.
And
I have
again, yeah. If you want your team to win, go ahead and chip in.
to.
But we this that's how I think, there was one question I did want to ask. I gotta
Mm-hmm.
ask it. What and then we'll end it off of that. What was the biggest difference in taking care of a person like Aaron Donald,
Mm-hmm.
his nutrition plan, a professional athlete in the NFL, compared to a Michael Barnett at University of Georgia?
I think in the professional level, there is a difference. A lot of the times, you have athletes who are established, like Aaron Donald. That man was tuned in with everything he ate before I ever got there. So my thing was just doing the shakes that he liked, making
Mhm.
the smoothie that he liked.
That's crazy.
Whereas like in you go, I think whenever you're working professional sports, there's that everybody knows that at any moment this person can move or switch, get
Mm-hmm.
traded, get cut, waived, especially in football. So I guess there's like kind of a barrier
Mhm.
between how close you can always get with them or how much impact you can make.
Mhm.
Whereas you get a college athlete, especially in football, you have at least 3 years with him. So you just establish a deeper relationship with those athletes. So I think that's the biggest difference is like at the professional level, they've gotten there. So you just try and fine tune. But really, when you're with college kids, a lot of the times you're starting from the ground up. And I think for me, I liked the college component because I did like the relationship aspect
Mhm.
of my job.
It makes
They
sense.
kept me young.
For
That's
sure.
for
Yes, but they
sure.
kept me young.
For sure. Well, that concludes episode number 8 for the Real Understands Everything. Once again, we really appreciate you coming on, Daniela. It has been a very informative talk. I learned a lot about nutrition, and I also learned a lot about the insight of what it takes to be a nutritionist, not only just on like a regular scale, but just for athletes in general, because sometimes we can be hard headed. We can be difficult to work with. We got these ways about us, but you are a part of that support staff that nobody talks about that should be
Mhm.
talked about more because you do all the grunt work. You know what I mean? I don't look up what's the right things to eat. It's easier, things about us as athletes. Sometimes we can be very lazy. We've been very in that realm. We've been handed things. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like a given. Like you come and do all the hard work for us. We just got to eat.
Right.
So we appreciate you and people in your field, in the background, your expertise. We also we here at True Talk, we also appreciate the nonprofit that you have started and what it means. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Before interviewing you today, I never knew the backdrop of your nonprofit. Like, being honest with you, I didn't know. Like I knew about it. You know what I'm saying? Speaking to Mike, but I didn't know the full story behind it or why. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like
Mhm.
what's your why, and
Mhm.
knowing what your why is now really touches me. I can speak for these guys. I'm pretty sure it touches them. So you'll always have a home as in a place here at True Talk as far as that goes. We'll always advocate. Um, Hopefully we can make this thing, like a little partnership. Shout y'all out. I got a lot of friends on the West Coast,
For sure.
and bring this back on the East. So but yeah, it was very informative. Very thankful to have you on. And the biggest what the biggest say the biggest the largest is you are the first female host or special guest that we've had. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna
I
clock
think
it
she
because I
did
see you
well
clock
too.
it earlier, so we're gonna clock it again.
She set a standard. She set a standard
Yeah,
now.
you
Oh,
set the
for
bar
real.
down, the bar high. So for any of my female special
Yes, that
guests in
one.
the future, if you hear this, yeah, you got to come with it now. That Daniela, she did her big one. She did her big one. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Keep tuning in every week. We're gonna give you guys a banger. Where we're gonna have real conversations with raw emotions or guests. You know what I'm saying? And that's how we're gonna end this. Peace.